Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. I wanted to go ahead and flip through my very first bullet journal ever with you, so let's go ahead and take a trip down memory lane. I hope you enjoy the video and let's go ahead and jump right in. So when I first started bullet journaling, then I used the A5 sized Leuchtturm 1917 dotted journal. So I first discovered bullet journaling through my sister, who recommended that I watch some Amanda Rach Lee videos. I'm sure that a lot of you guys may already be familiar with who she is. She was basically one of the biggest bullet journal influencers on YouTube. So as we flip through my very first bullet journal here, then you may recognize some of the spreads and layouts in here are similar to what Amanda was doing at the time. So I first started bullet journaling at the start of 2018, and back then I used to split up the year into 6 months. So I would have January through June in one journal and then July through December in another journal. So if you guys are interested, I'll go ahead and make a part 2 of me flipping through July through December. But in this video, I'll just flip through this very first one. I got these stickers from Michael's, I believe. It just has some letters and some numbers. So I just went ahead and labeled my journals back then so that I would be able to distinguish what months and what year it covers. All right, now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and crack this thing open. So just this very first page, I went ahead and taped in this really cute stack of post-it notes that I got from Target, I believe. I thought that I would use these more throughout my bullet journal, but I never really used them just because I felt like the adhesive wasn't the best. And something that I like to do is name my bullet journals. So my very first one I named Miles. And then back then I did used to use the table of contents here, and I actually tried my best to fill it out. But I think eventually I kind of just abandoned it because it was kind of hard to keep track of everything. So after the table of contents, then I just made this little quote page or little decoration page saying "Adventure awaits." As you can see, I was definitely not good at hand lettering at the time, so you'll see throughout this bullet journal that I worked on my hand lettering a lot. So it definitely was by no means perfect at first. It took a lot of practicing for sure. Alright, now flipping over to my yearly spreads, I have just another welcome page here and then a little quote. You'll see throughout this journal and pretty much all of my bullet journals that I love using lyrics from songs that I love that match whatever theme I'm doing. So on this page then I just have an overview of all of the months for the year. With these then I just went ahead and used my Tombow Dual brush pens as well as some Sakura Pigma microns. And then here is where we get into the actual events for the year. So I just have January through June here, and then July through December on the next page. And then I made a page for my resolutions and categorized them based off of whether or not they have to do with my health or finances, social, etc. And here I wrote down a funny quote from Michael Scott from The Office. If you know, you know. Alright, now to separate the yearly spreads from my monthly spreads now, then I just went ahead and drew this little circular doodle. So jumping right into January, I went ahead and did a rain theme. And then here is my January monthly spread. I made my monthly spread pretty large so that there was plenty of room for me to write down any birthdays, appointments, events, etc. So of course I have a lyric over here from the song Rosie by John Mayer. It was actually the song that inspired this whole theme. Even though it definitely does not rain in January up here in the Midwest. So yeah, and then I also have just a little tasks and weight box here. Moving on. So these trackers were inspired by Amanda H. Lee. Here on the left-hand side, then I have the habit trackers, my mood trackers, and then expense trackers, which I've covered up. But for my habits, then I pretty much just wrote down the habits up here and then just used one of my Tombow markers and marked off the days in which I did the habit. And then same with my mood tracker. Then I basically just went from a very happy mood to a very sad mood and just tracked that all throughout the month. So for my expense tracker, then I also included a little box up here. It's kind of just a summary of where I was at the start of the month and where I ended at the end of the month. And then here, then I basically just wrote down the dates in which I purchased something along with the description, if it was added to my account or if it was taken out of my account, and then the balance afterwards. So that was basically how I tracked my expenses at the time. So if you've seen any of my recent videos about my bullet journal, then you'll notice that I pretty much still have the same trackers, but I've condensed them to be a lot smaller so that they can fit on my weekly spreads. Just because over time I realized that I did not want to flip through all of these pages every single day to track everything. Especially now, it's just a lot easier for me to pretty much just flip through like 2 or 3 pages and just take care of everything like that. So anyway, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and flip to the next page. So here is my very first weekly spread. So I just wanted to do something a little bit simple. Again, inspired by Amanda H. Lee, then I kind of did like a little sidebar here covering the whole week, just including any events or birthdays or holidays. You'll notice that back then for my weekly spreads, I focused a lot on journaling. So I hardly logged anything or I hardly wrote down any tasks that I did that day. I pretty much just wrote a couple of things, like if I was going somewhere or if I had bills or if it was a holiday. And then I used up most of the box to just do a little journal entry. Moving on. Again, you'll also notice that back then I did not do all of my weekly spreads back to back like how I do now. There were a lot of pages where I would just do a weekly spread and then the next page would be something completely random, which I think ultimately was kind of something that drew me to bullet journaling, was just kind of the spontaneity of it. So as you can see on this page, I made a list of music to check out and then just a little Happy New Year spread, just trying to practice my hand lettering here. Another page of things to check out, this one is more specifically for like books, films, TV shows, etc. This is where I included a brain dump page. This is just wherever I wanted to write down some random notes or some random things that I was thinking of, to-dos or how many dots or boxes are on each page, some lyric ideas for spreads, to buy, gift card stuff, just random things. And then here is the next weekly spread. A little bit different this time. I went with like a vertical layout instead of the horizontal one previously. And then calligraphy and hand lettering practice. This is where I was kind of just trying to practice more with the Tombow dual brush pens and I believe the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. At this point in time, I had never used a brush pen before starting this bullet journal, so I definitely needed to practice and get the hang of it. I watched a lot of videos to nail down the technique. And then this page was just kind of something random. I wanted to try blending with the Tombow dual brush pens a little bit more because this was when I discovered that they were supposed to essentially act similarly to watercolors. So I just went ahead and made this kind of random decoration spread with some blue roses, blue ribbons, a huge sphere with a lyric from Arctic Monkeys in it, and then some raindrops to go with the theme. It's really nice looking back on this. I do think that this turned out pretty nice. And then another weekly spread. Again, I went with the more vertical layout. This time the boxes are a little smaller. And again, you'll notice that there's just a lot of room for journaling. And then just another lyric page. Something that I loved doing when I was learning how to hand letter was I would listen to music while I had time to hand letter, and whatever song I was listening to, then I would hand letter it and just try and make like some sort of quote page. So again, you'll see that there's another brain dump page. Apparently I had a lot of things that I wanted to write down and remember. At this point then I was looking at a lot of festivals that were going on in like the spring and summertime. So I just wanted to get an idea of when those were going to be. And then another weekly spread. This was the week of my 22nd birthday, so I was very excited. I went ahead and just taped in, it's not washi tape, but it's kind of like duct tape in a way. I don't know why I did that. I guess I thought it was cool, but I think I ultimately just wanted to try and do like a chalkboard effect with my white Uniball Signo gel pen, because a lot of the bullet journaling materials that I currently use then I pretty much discovered around this time. I had never used the Uniball Signo gel pen in the white shade before, so I just wanted to try and test it out on some black surfaces. I really like how this page turned out. I used to love being able to decorate it a lot and just use a lot of different elements, like pasting in different pieces of paper, washi tapes, doodling and whatnot. I had a lot more time on my hands back then, so it's nice looking back on these spreads. Another thing that I loved about bullet journaling was it just allowed me a lot of opportunities to reflect on myself, reflect on the past, and kind of plan for the future. So for this page, then it's basically just journaling about who I was at the time and what I wanted to be eventually. And then here is another weekly spread. I really love this one too. I thought the doodles turned out very nicely, and I love all of the different colors here. And then just a little quote in the corner here. I have my January recap here. So this has basically turned into my monthly memories box. If you're familiar with my current B5 bullet journal, then I have a little box on my doodles page for memories as well as for favorites. So this is something that I used to do back then too, where I would have a whole page dedicated to memories, a whole page dedicated to favorites. It was really nice at the time, but again, like I said, I used to have a lot more time on my hands back then, and these days I just don't have the time to create a whole page on memories, create a whole page on favorites, and be able to decorate it. Otherwise, I feel like it's just really incomplete if I don't decorate it, and I just don't like the look of it. So that's why it's a lot more condensed now. But like I said earlier, I enjoy looking back on these and just remembering how much time I had to create these spreads. Anyway, sorry, there's gonna be a lot of rambling in this video, so I hope you guys are prepared and comfortable. I posted a video about this recently, but basically for my monthly recap, or my monthly memories is now what I call it, then I use my Sprocket printer to print out pictures from my phone and just paste them in here, and then just kind of write like a little summary about the images and whatnot. For my favorites, then I used to actually draw out like the actual items to fill the page, which looking back I think is really cute. Moving on. So the reason why I ended up pasting in this sheet was because I had already completed the January recap. I already started February on the next page. And then I think when I first started February, then I realized that I wanted to add in a favorites page at the end of every month. So I just went ahead and pasted this in, and then I just drew like a random drawing on the side. So you'll notice a lot of that in my older journals. Like I just pasted in some random pieces of paper wherever I felt like it was necessary. Anyway. Moving on to February, then I did a crystal theme. I cut out these crystals from some old scrapbook paper that I had, probably still have, and just added them in to add a little bit more texture. And then here is my February monthly, and then again another quote. And And then back to my trackers, you'll see that I pretty much follow like the same layout as far as like a cover page, a monthly spread, my trackers, and then eventually getting to my brain dump and weekly spreads. So those are basically like the consistent parts of my bullet journal. Learning from January, since I had 2 separate brain dump pages, then I just went ahead and made a full brain dump spread. And as you can see, I ended up using all of it. Just a lot of random stuff, shopping lists, habits that I wanted to track. And then moving into my first February weekly spread, I just did kind of like this square theme, along with a drawing that I did with some fine liners and my colored pencils. And then just a random decoration spread here, just a lyric from Panic at the Disco song. And then I wanted to make a spread about my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. Moving on to the next weekly spread, it was the week of Valentine's Day, so I had all of these Valentine's Day stickers in my collection that I wanted to include on this spread. And then this is essentially just a practice page of Amanda Rach Lee's bullet journal headers idea. I wanted to go ahead and just practice it myself. Then moving on to another weekly spread, just a little bit different here. This is where I had my future theme ideas, and to go along with my themes then, like I said earlier, I loved incorporating lyrics from songs that I felt like would go along with the theme. So I basically just made like a master list of songs that I felt like would match the theme. And then here is another page that was inspired by Amanda Rach Lee when she did her font ideas video. Pretty much what's on this side were from her video, and a lot of this stuff over here, I guess I was just practicing my handwriting. But moving on to the next weekly spread, just a quote from a Coldplay song. I think this is where I discovered that I really liked having this kind of layout, just with how simple it is, just having like the equal sized boxes and with having like a light shade for the number in the background. I thought that that looked really pretty. And then here's just another journal page that I did comparing how I was back then as a child and just wondering if she would be proud of who I am today, basically. And then here we are at the end of February. I have my favorites here, and then I have my memories. For some reason I swapped them this time. I just drew out all of my favorites and then just wrote a journal entry about the month of February. Oh, and then I have my recap on this page. And then I have a scrapbook page just pasted in here. I basically just finished off February with the gems here and then pasted in another piece of scrapbook paper that was supposed to transition into March. Alright, so moving right on into March, I just have a little collage on this side with a sheet of scrapbook paper with a quote on it. And then for March, then I just went ahead and did kind of like a leaf theme. Here is my March monthly spread. Very simple, just with the large boxes filling up the page. And then again with the habit tracker, mood tracker, and expense tracker. And my brain dump page. And then moving into my first weekly spread of March. And then just a random page on things to buy when I move out. I felt like it was a cute idea to doodle that stuff instead of actually writing down a list. And just a quote here from an Incubus song. And then here's another weekly spread for the week of St. Patrick's Day. So I have a couple of little clovers scattered throughout the page. I thought that this one turned out kind of interesting. It's not one of my favorites, but I appreciate that I was trying to do something different, as if like they were just little sheets of paper on a vine with like some clothespins keeping them on there or something. I don't know. And then just some more lettering practice, just practicing all of the letters with the Tombow Duo brush pens, and then I believe the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. And then another weekly spread. I really loved this one at the time, and I still do, just with all of the different textures with the washi tape layering on top of one another, the little doodles, and then having the numbers in the background behind the journal entries. Sorry if you guys hear some construction going on in the background. They've been doing some construction across the street, which has been kind of annoying, but please just try and tune it out. Anyway, another decoration spread here, just some random lyrics maybe, or journaling, I'm not too sure. And then I really loved this page too. Like I mentioned earlier, just practicing hand lettering with lyrics of songs that I was listening to at the time. I just went ahead and decorated like a little border with some leaves using one of my Sakura Pigma microns. And then I just went in and wrote out the lyrics to a song by Incubus called Echo. One of my absolute favorites, by the way, if you're interested. Yeah, and at this point I was starting to feel a lot more confident about my hand lettering. So I was so proud of this when I first made this spread. Then here's another weekly spread. I just love how uniform this one looks, just with all of the daily boxes on the inside and then having like decorations on the outside. It's one of my favorites. You could probably tell that this layout is basically what inspired my current layout in my bullet journal, except for now I have the trackers on the side here instead of decorations. Alright, and then just another quote page here from Disillusioned by A Perfect Circle. This is one of my absolute favorite songs. It came out around this time and I was obsessed with it at the time, and it's still one of my favorite songs today. So highly recommend that one too if you're interested. Just moving right on into my March favorites. I was really into the show AP Bio, which I haven't been following that. Like, is that even still a show? I have no idea. Anyway, that's enough of that. And then just my March recap or my memories. And then moving on to April. This was one of my favorite themes at the time. Like, I was so excited to basically do like the blackout theme and just cover up my pages with black ink. But anyway, for April then I just did kind of like this dark misty forest theme. And then moving into April's monthly page, I actually made it a little smaller this time because I wanted to include a quote. I believe this is from an Oh Wonder song. Moving on to my trackers, again just the habit, mood, and then over here would be the expense tracker, but I just went ahead and covered it all up. And then just a brain dump here. And then one of my favorite songs by Incubus again. This one is called In the Company of Wolves. I thought that this was the perfect time to use this quote and to paint this little piece. And then here is my first weekly spread of April. Again, just going back to that vertical layout. And then moving on to another decoration page. This is a song by Deathcap for Cutie. And then a weekly spread. This one's a little bit more random and just spread out a little bit more. And then just another quote here. Again, that A Perfect Circle song called Disillusioned. And then just kind of like a journal entry here. Just printed out some pictures and made this little watercolor painting here. And then my weekly spread. Just very simple. And then I pasted in this color wheel of all of my Tombow dual brush pens. At the time, I believe this was when they had the like 96 color set or something, but since then they've added an additional like 12. So this was before that. And then just another decoration page, just a lyric from A Wonder, I believe, and then a lyric from Coldplay. And then some more hand lettering practice, some lyrics from Tool, hence the anger. Anyway, another weekly spread. I really like how this one turned out. These were supposed to be like little moons that I painted with either watercolors or my Tombos. I can't remember for sure, but I really like how they turned out. I thought that this was a pretty cool concept. Another lyric from John Mayer. And then another decoration page, a song from Deftones, and then a song from Incubus called Just a Phase. Very fitting. And then just another decoration page. I think this might have just been like a journal entry with some little scrapbook paper pasted in. Oh, and then a little journal page dedicated to mine and my boyfriend at the time. Us being together for 1.5 years, which is just crazy because at this point, it'll be 8 years this October. So that's exciting. Anyway, just another little painting that I did here. I thought this one turned out pretty cool. Pasted it here. I have my monthly favorites. And then my April recap or memories. And then moving on to May, you may be wondering why it's a piece of paper and not an actual piece of art that I did, which is usually what I like to do. But this was the month that I moved out of my parents. So it was very sudden and I did not prepare for it by any means. So I had my Tombos with me for convenience, but I didn't have too many opportunities to actually go in and really decorate the month of May. Again, just a little brain dump here. And then moving right on into the first week, then just something a little bit different, just having like, still kind of like that vertical layout, but spreading out the journal entries to like the furthest parts of the spread. And then just kind of a random decoration page with a scrapbook page along with the bubbles. I guess for the month of May, I was kind of doing like an ocean / bubble theme. So again, more hand lettering, a Perfect Circle song here. This album just came out April of that year, so that was kind of all that I was listening to at the time. A lot of A Perfect Circle and Tool, I'd say. So I just tried doing a bubble theme. I thought it turned out okay. I wasn't the proudest about it, but it looks fine. And then just a little memories or journal entry page about another time when I went to the Twins game with my work at the time. And then another decoration page. I really love this one just with kind of like the rustic touch with the craft paper, or basically like the paper bag texture, and just with like collages and some pictures, and then a little painting that I did. Just some random stuff. And then another weekly spread. This one's inspired by yet another Incubus song, Are You In? That song is like just perfect for spring. I absolutely love that song for around this time of year. And then just another decoration spread, a Coldplay song, and then perhaps just a random journal entry. Another weekly spread. Looking back, I really hate how I drew these circles, or bubbles rather. They look kind of gross, so, and they make me itchy. Anyway, enough of that. Just some more lyrics and just kind of trying to get into like a decorative collage-y aesthetic, I'd say. Back at it again with those circles. Definitely not one of my favorite spreads, just because I was very busy just trying to get all of my things moved in and everything. So not my favorite, but I'm glad that I didn't just leave it blank. So that's nice. And then here we are at the end of May. I have my monthly favorites here. So yeah, that A Perfect Circle album, Eat the Elephant, came out the end of April. So I have it down as one of my favorites for May. And here I just have my May recap, or my May memories. And then moving on to the last month of this bullet journal, then I did a hot air balloon theme for June. And then moving right on into the monthly spread. And then again back to my trackers and my brain dump page. Just a decoration page with a scrapbook paper pasted in, and then a lyrics page for the song Isidore by Incubus. So you can see I adore Incubus. And then moving on to the first weekly spread of June, just a nice, kind of simple weekly spread, going back to those symmetrical boxes and the numbers written behind the journal entries. I went ahead and just cut out some flowers from some of my scrapbook paper and just pasted it in here. And then just a lyric page from the song Red Balloons by David Ryan Harris. And then just a little journal entry in yellow that is almost impossible to read. And then another scrapbook page. And then a weekly spread. I thought this one turned out pretty cute. The days of the week are written a lot bigger in hand lettering, and it didn't leave too much room for journaling, but I thought it turned out pretty nice, and I just love the yellow, so. And then here, this is another page that was kind of inspired by one of Amanda Rachel Lee's spreads back in the day, where she was doing kind of like a traveling page. My husband and I, or my boyfriend and I at the time then, we were planning a trip out to go see Dead & Company, so I drew out all of these little suitcases and little bags and stuff and just kind of categorized each one for a packing list, basically. And then just wrote down the information for the Airbnb that we were going to stay at, and then just some instructions. And just a little journal page, decoration page, and another weekly. This one I think I used my Tombows for, or perhaps watercolor, I can't really tell at this point. But I thought these turned out pretty cool. And then just another decoration page. As you can see, for the month of June, then I had a lot of these scrapbook pages that I wanted to paste in. So pasted that in, just did a little drawing here along to some lyrics from A Wonder song. More hand lettering in a yellow that is pretty difficult to read. Another weekly spread, Coldplay lyric, and then another scrapbook page, and then my monthly favorites. And then here are my June memories, or my June recap. And then just another scrapbook page pasted in. And that, I would say, pretty much is like the end of my bullet journal. I do still have maybe like 50 pages left, but it's nothing of value really. At the beginning of the year, then I got a bunch of stencils, so I basically just used the stencils or tried them out on some of these pages. Did some more lettering practice back here. Just wrote down some more lyrics. I'll just flip through these quickly. But yeah, a lot of these are kind of just random thoughts. Like this one, plans for next bullet journal. A lot of hand lettering practice, gym supplies. And then just like a handwriting page. Just some random thoughts again. And then some more hand lettering practice. And then some washi tape swatches. These were my washi tapes at the time. Some of these I still have to this day. And then some more hand lettering. And then back here, then I do have some swatches of my pens at the time. So I do have a lot of these still. My Tombows and my Crayolas. And then some of these I don't even remember, like the Recollections, the Art Minds. Apparently I had some Papermate Inkjoy pens before. I don't remember the Yubi, the Bic Atlantis swatches, the Up and Up. I don't remember some of these at all, but I obviously still use the Sakura Pigma microns and the Zebra mild liners. I even have some Prismacolor colored pencil swatches. And then some Pilot G2 mini gel pens, some random brush pens. I had the Pilot Juice 24 pack of gel pens back then. And then this was the watercolor palette that I had back then. It was just one of the Sakura Koi watercolor palettes. One that Amanda Rachel Lee had basically. And then just some metallic markers and some one-offs. And then my Pentel Sign Fude Touch brush pens. So yeah, I've had some of these for a very long time. Art line sticks. I hardly use these anymore, but I really liked them at the time. I used to love the Koh-i-Noor Hartmouth woodless colored pencils. I used to use these back in high school, and I used them for a while once I graduated. And then I had some watercolor pencils. Apparently I never used them, aside from maybe like swatching them here. And that's basically it. But alas, our journey is coming to an end. And then just a little quote from Walt Whitman that I had in one of my scrapbook pads. And that's it. That's it for my very first bullet journal. Definitely not perfect, very messy at times. The hand lettering was not pretty a lot of the times. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just kind of a little throwback to my earlier days of bullet journaling. So if you see this and compare it to any of my more recent bullet journaling videos, you know, like we all have to start somewhere. So it's not always going to be pretty, and don't let that discourage you. It'll get better with time. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any future video suggestions or requests. I would love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.